Hi guys, welcome back to Let's Talk with Brian and Tia. We are so excited to be with you this week because we missed you so much. I know you guys are all caught up on the kickoff episode, so this episode is going to be our first topic. But before we get into it, we're going to tell you guys about what we're drinking today. It's Rosé by the McBride sisters.
Black owned.
Black owned, which is so fun because it's black owned, that's why. So today we're gonna sip on our rosé, but before we do so, don't forget, you guys, we have coasters for you all. We have our Let's Talk wine glasses. We got our shot glasses, and everyone loves a good shot. Shot. And then we have the other color coasters, our gold ones, like the Golden Goddess. So let's get into it this week. How have you been?
I've been good.
I know I see him, guys, if we're moving so fast that this is like our little session.
Our little check-in sometimes.
Sometimes.
Solid week. But, you know, your week is always affected by all the things that you do. And one of the things that it's most affected by is parenting. Which is our first topic this week. We're going to kind of go into that and kind of talk through our experiences as parents, what those things are like, the differences between parenting now versus parenting then, and just kind of go into that all together. So you guys come talk with us.
Yeah, come talk with us.
T, what would you say is the...
Well, cheers to getting through our first week of parenting before we get into it.
Yes.
Just take a sip. Kids be having you want to drink sometimes.
T, what would you say is the biggest difference between parenting now versus our parents and the way that they parented a generation ago?
I would say distractions. And I don't know if it is. I feel like life was just more simple.
Yeah.
You know, this was more simple. Like, we got up in the morning, we went to school, you know, we didn't have much going on. We socialized there, then we came home, we did our homework, food was on the table, we ate what our mothers put on the table, we didn't tell them what we wanted. So it was kind of like, you know, it was like a routine. It was like that. But, I mean, also, we have to see the perspective of our parents. But me thinking of it, I just think that life was a little bit more simple.
Right. I definitely think life was simpler. I also will point to, like, presence. Mm-hmm. I think that's a major difference between parenting now versus then. I think
the parents being more present?
The parents being more present, being more aware, being there and available for your child. You know, a lot of the times, you know, a lot of us were latchkey kids, right? We're going and coming, we're, you know, in the house and doing things, a lot of things with a lot more autonomy. We're doing things by ourselves. And so, you know, me growing up in a single family home, you know, it was just my mom up until I was 7, and then my grandparents after that. You know, it seemed like there wasn't enough time to kind of figure out what was going on with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just like, you listen, if you don't listen, consequence.
Exactly.
And usually that was an ass whooping, right? If you're not following directions or listening. And so there was really only one way to kind of get through. It was just like, you know, you listen. If you don't listen, you get a consequence. That was it. So there wasn't a lot of presence involved as far as, you know, just being aware of what your kids were going through.
And I think a lot of times, too, the presence that was also because a consequence of not having the time to be present.
Very true.
You know what I mean? Or the capacity to be present.
Very
you know,
true.
Because I know a lot of us growing up as, you know, African Americans, I can speak for, is, you know, we grew up in poverty, you know what I mean? Or if we weren't in poverty, you know, our parents were check to check, you know? And it's like, you don't have time to stop and live. You have to be in survivor mode, you know what I mean? You're thinking, okay, this is what we need to do. So your kids almost become a part of that mode. It's like, okay, we come home, we do our homework, what we have to eat, you know, whatever our mom put on the table, we eat it, and that's it. We don't ask a lot of questions, you know. And I think it's just becomes of the parents needing to survive, the children are then pushed into survival mode as well.
Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, and I guess what impacted that was their parents and their lifestyle that they had to live and endure made them parent the way that they did, which passed along the next generation of parenting, which, you know, it wasn't a lot there to pull from because, you know, as you mentioned, as you mentioned, it's just a lot of surviving going on, and so it makes it tough. I definitely. So I guess fast forwarding, because we understood that and had those experiences, we ultimately thought, okay, because of those things, surviving and just trying and just having enough. We're going to provide more freedoms or a different luxury
Yeah.
of life or different lifestyle for our kids. What do you think the impacts of that are or is?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a definitely loaded question, because when you stop for a second and you think about your childhood, or at least for me, and I think about my childhood and I think about how I grew up, you almost are you can kind of begin to parent your child like as if you're parenting your younger self. And although it's a blessing, it's a good thing to give your child those luxuries and give your child those freedoms, but you have to also understand as you're doing it that your child is not you.
True.
So sometimes I know I've done it before, you just begin to parent them, you parent your younger self, and then you parent what you think they want versus hearing what children need. Most of the time, children just need simplicity.
Yes.
And they just need a voice with the simplicity, right? So before we were younger, we had the simple life, but we also didn't have a voice. We felt like we didn't have a place. But I think kids now, they want the simple life, right? They want to make sure they come home every day, they have a good meal, they want to feel secure,
right.
But they also want a voice as well.
Right.
So I think sometimes overloading the children with all the things we think we wanted, like shoes, clothes,
right.
All the video games, all the materialistic things,
right.
All the touring and going here and going there, which is wonderful. I'm happy that we are able to give it to my children. We're able to give it to our children. I'm very grateful and blessed for it, but at the same time, sometimes that can be overstimulating for children.
Absolutely.
And they sometimes just need or want just to coast.
Absolutely. I'm 100% guilty, as you know, of overcompensating, and a lot of my overcompensation comes in the form of like attention and wanting to make sure I'm extra present, and so my personality also comes out in that, and wanting to control many of the situations in which the kids are in, and just ensuring that they don't go through the things that I went through, not understanding that some of the things that I went through impacted me in a positive way, and it allowed me to become the person I am today.
It's like we want to save the children and do this to them, which is not helpful either.
Yeah, it doesn't become helpful because it doesn't allow them to learn certain lessons that they would learn on their own. We read so much about natural consequences, and sometimes as parents, when you were parented a certain way, you believe that you have to provide and save your children from certain consequences that you went through. And like I mentioned, it doesn't end up being helpful because your kids, they don't believe that they should go through certain challenges. Or when they're met with certain challenges, they believe that it's the hardest thing in the world. I don't know what I'm going to eat tonight. I can't figure out.
Mommy's gone. Mommy's gone.
Yes.
What are we going to have for dinner? Or daddy's not here, mom. You don't know how to put the basketball court up properly. It's like, son.
Yes, exactly. And so my overcompensation becomes their anxiety.
Yeah.
Or lack of, you know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Me.
And you know what's so funny that you say that is because, I was talking to my therapist and I was speaking to her about some of the parenting challenges that I have. And she really helped me with this, is that sometimes we have anxiety. We as parents will have anxiety while we're parenting our child because we're so worried, and sometimes we pass that energy over to them.
For sure.
And they then begin to need us more than they actually do need us.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
No.
You know what I mean?
Perfect.
So, without saying too much of that, but just that's pretty much it. So, and I think it goes to what you were saying.
No, it's a perfect segue into what we want for our kids versus allowing them to have their own experiences, right? A lot of the times we want them to have this blissful life, not understanding that bliss is, you almost have to earn bliss, right?
Yeah.
You got to work for bliss. You got to work for happiness. You have to, and a lot of that is individual work that you do on yourselves. But when our kids are children, we believe that we have to be their superhero and block. We're supposed to protect, but not avoid, right? They can't avoid every situation, every experience, believing that, that they're not going to have certain challenges. They're going to face challenges. They're going to go through things. And them having their own experience is probably the best teacher for them.
Right.
And I'm definitely still learning that and still processing that as a parent. And so, I definitely want to share that with current parents and future parents is as much as you can allow kids to have their own experience.
Yeah.
And have natural consequences,
Yeah.
because it's okay to have them because they're a part of just life.
Yeah.
Definitely. Would you say that was something we experienced more than our parents trying to save us from things?
Absolutely. I mean, when I think back on the challenges I had, just going to the store and, money, like counting money, like it wasn't anything that, of course, you learn in school, like, the little penny sheets and shit like that. But, for the most part, just going to the corner store by myself every day and like, getting money if I want to get a 50-cent soda or a quarter, and learning like, okay, what, all those things I learned by myself, you know what I mean? Like just spending money by myself, walking down the street, ordering a cab. Like when I was 12 years old, I used to order cabs and getting cabs. My best friend getting in cabs and shit when we were like in 7th grade. Like it was like, those were the things. But now I think about, my daughter is 12 years old. I could never. Like I would be like, Uber what? Like no, yeah, I kidnapping my kid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those type of things, those type of challenges. But then also challenges amongst, social challenges, which our children will experience. But even now, like I find myself wanting to save my child from certain social challenges, and I have to reel myself back and go, you know what? That happened at school. Go there, face it, figure it out.
Right, definitely. The social challenge is funny you say that. Shit has changed so much, even from when we were in school. We were in school. We graduated 2005.
From high school.
So that's 16 years ago, right?
Is it 16 years ago?
Yeah. It's been 16 years since we've been in high school, which sounds like a lot of time, but so much has changed since then.
So much.
I cannot imagine having social media when we were in high school.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine Instagram?
It would have been a fucking wreck. It would have been a wreck in high school. Like it was crazy.
All the TikTok dances. Okay.
It was crazy when we was in high school without social media. I could not imagine
it was crazy.
dealing with that as a child now. And so dealing with parenting with your kids with social media, that creates another challenge.
Yes, it does.
Not just for your kids socially, but for you as a parent having to be mindful of, allowing them to experience it because it is a part of the generation that they're growing up in. But then being mindful
of what else comes with that.
Exactly. The other part of what comes with it. And it's a tough balance because it's like you got to give it and take it away because you
give it and constantly take it then.
You take it away because
and never give anything back again.
You take it because sometimes it's too overwhelming for them. They're not ready for it.
I agree. It's a lot. I mean, half the time social media is too much for me personally. So I try to use it as a tool when I can, or I might get on there and like, see some friends here and there. But I personally, I don't really like to engage on social media too much. But again, like Brian said, it's something that's a part of the generation growing up, right? So all this technology around our children, that's going to be a tool they're going to be able to use when they get older, for their business or whatever the case they may need. So you don't want to shun them from it, but it is trying to find that delicate balance. I think that, again, instant gratification, too quick, too fast.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's good for kids. Personally, I don't think adults can handle social media, so I really don't personally feel like children can handle it. But to each his own. However, I think that, as parents, we just have to be mindful of our individual children, you know what I mean, and what each child can handle also. Because some children can handle things differently than others, some children sooner than others.
Yeah.
And, even though your child, like, our daughter, approaching her teenage years soon, she's like, oh, can I have, but just understanding, like, look, I understand, you want to fit in and so trying to figure out sometimes when you can use the cell phone or when you can get on the tablet and all those things, trying to find a good balance, because I think too much of anything is not good. I think social media, personally, as a parent, I think it should be down to like 20%, you know what I mean?
What do you mean as far as like how often?
How often they use it,
And I'm also thinking that, and it's tough, right? Because as parents, you want your time, right? And sometimes when you give them the technology,
Oh
and
yeah,
you give them
you're
the
there
social
for
media,
hours. You're chilling.
right? You give them that
That's
time, and
challenging,
it's. But I'm almost thinking like it's one of those things that should almost be monitored.
Yeah, and
Right?
I mean, I think we do a pretty good job with monitoring the electronic time. You know what I
Sure.
mean? You know, we set timers. You know, I'm like, okay, when the timer goes off, it's over.
It's over.
So I don't know how, you know, it's like buzzing I don't know, like
Yeah.
ding. We use timers, so I think when the timer's over, you know, 30 minutes span, I think that's a pretty good amount of time to sit on tab and watch a TV show or a movie that you really like
Of
or
course,
something like that,
of course.
or do 3 TikTok dances and then it's over.
But even with that, I think also maybe implementing the parental guidance
Guidelines, yeah,
on the
on all of them,
devices.
yeah.
I know that's something we, had to learn on the fly, like
Mhm.
ensuring that all the parental guides are up, so you can't almost see anything because YouTube is a wormhole.
Yeah.
Even adults, you get on there, you're searching for hours.
The next thing you know,
No,
you're
you-
trying to figure out how the Earth is flat. Like,
It-
I mean, seriously. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's aliens. Weird. Like, it gets crazy.
Facts.
YouTube is overwhelming.
And so you imagine giving that to a 12-year-old or a 6-year-old and where it could go, because YouTube's not going to stop and say, okay, this is a 12 or 6-year-old.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just going to let them keep going. And so just being mindful of those parental guidance things. I know that with social media has been something that we've learning on the fly, but it's tough. It's definitely tough balancing them, allowing them to have technology but not. And then the consequences from all of this is how it impacts not only our mental health but our children's mental health.
Children's mental health, yeah.
And so I think as parents, I just took a deep breath because that's me helping my mental health, because Jesus, like it goes there sometimes
Flowers.
with parenting, just on a day-to-day, having time to just collect yourself, because you're a person at the end of the day that still has needs and wants, but then you have this other person that needs and wants you. Absolutely. What are some things that you find yourself doing to impact your mental health in a positive way day to day, so you're able to be present as a parent?
Definitely having a morning routine. I know, I'm slow to get into the day. I'm really slow. I gotta have my green tea. I gotta take a walk. I gotta look at the sky. Those things are really, really, really important to me, to ease into the day, because children are non-stop. Like, they don't stop. They're not stopping for you. They're not saying, "Oh, mom, you're stressed.
She look tired.
You look tired today. Let me chill." No, you look tired today. Let me turn the fuck up.
Let me turn up.
Let me turn this shit all the way up. Like, oh, look at mommy over there taking a nap. You know what I mean? So,
son, you know how many times I'm laying down and I just keep getting tapped? Wake up. Son, let me go to sleep.
So, just really taking the time that I'm away from them to really take my time to really do that. And then also, I think finding things for yourself, finding things for me that's just for me. It doesn't involve Brian, it doesn't involve the kids, doesn't involve anything, but even like just me. It's mine, and I can hold on to it, and it feels good to just me. So definitely my mental health is just easing myself into the day. My morning routine is number one.
Tia's a lot. I was gonna say you're a lot better at that than me. I don't think I've found a routine, something that I do before I
interact with
the kids or interact with Tia. I'm like, I'll take it all in, I'll deal with it, and then at the end of the night, I want to be left alone. And it doesn't work, because oftentimes I do all that, I get through the day, I give, and at the end of the night,
everybody wants more.
Brian still wants more.
Yeah.
He's still, Daddy, I need you. Daddy, I want you. And so I do have to be better with finding something that helps me. Sure. Finding something that helps me balance it all out to be better and healthy mentally. Because if I'm not, it's difficult to be present for Tia and the kids in the way that I need to be. And so I definitely have to be better with that. Finding, what I can do as a routine daily to ensure my mental health is in the best place possible. But in alignment with that, obviously it affects us as parent and parenting, but our children's mental health is also impacted just with the day-to-day stressors of their life, and also us parenting them and how we parent them, that affects their mental health as well.
And I think it's important too. I think it goes back to that idea of thinking that what we're doing is more stressful, or what we're doing is more than you. You know, we kind of talked about that with the relationship, you know, making sure it's like, my job isn't necessarily more important than you, or I'm not working hard as you, which is different. And so even understanding with our children, like, yeah, you know, their challenge might be a girl at school that's being catty, but that's their challenge, and not undermining their challenge just because our challenge is how to pay the bills. You know what I mean? We like, this is even more. Like, when I was a kid, we just shut up and ran. You know, it's still different because it's still their challenge, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier with the children and their challenges, is that making sure they're able to experience that. But we also want them to experience it feeling full and feeling whole and feeling proud of themselves from getting over that hump. Acknowledging their challenge, supporting them through their challenge, and not comparing their challenges to our challenges, because it's not going to be the same.
Definitely. I mean, that's definitely important. And whether you guys believe it or not, these Let's Talk episodes are therapeutic, and we're learning from ourselves as we're talking through it, and definitely want you guys to join in on the conversation and assist us, because that's ultimately the goal, right? Like, we all work together and thrive off of sharing information, being a part of each other's lives, and talking through things, because we don't all know the answer. Shit, we are all raised different. We all had different experiences, and so when we bring all those experiences together, that's how we're able to share, build, and thrive and move forward, you know, in a positive space. So I definitely want you guys to participate and chime in on this topic, parenting.
Let's go live.
No, we're gonna go live on this topic for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We'll drop, and then we're gonna put a flyer up, and you guys will see it now, because we're talking to you guys right now. So we're gonna do it after we record this. We're gonna put it out, because I think it's something that'll be really good for us to talk about. You know, because parenting, you know, we move through it, and you know, it's a sensitive topic. You know, because no one wants to feel that they're not a good parent. They don't want to feel like they're failing as a mom or a dad, and you don't want to feel like you're not doing the best job. But bitch, you doing a good job, nigga. You doing a good job.
We sing that song to each other throughout the day, because you just got to remind each other, like, you're doing the best that you can do.
And you feel defeated because you have another person's life in your hands. At least that's how I see it, you know. And so it feels like a lot of anxiety, but it doesn't have to be. You know, you can really relax in it and enjoy the ride. But I think, you know, when you feel like you're holding on to your past and your inner child and the way you think your parents should have parented you, you tend to parent from that space. And that's not the space that we should parent from. We should parent from the space of, we're
who
here.
You're dealing with in front of you.
What does this person need? What does this person need to be the best person possible? Because one child may not need the same thing as the other child, and they might be in the same home, you know. So what works for A may not work for B.
Facts.
And really taking a step back and realizing that, and so that way we can be fully present. You know, as we mentioned earlier, fully present in our parenting experience.
Absolutely. And then I would say also, you use your resources, use the people around, use your support systems as much as possible. Like Tia mentioned, I know we're always, you know, mindful of how we're parenting, and so we don't want to feel judged as parents. But at the end of the day, I will guarantee you, whatever you're going through as a parent, somebody next to you, your friend, your cousin, your family, whoever, they're going through a very
link up with somebody else who got a 6-year-old.
thing.
I'm telling you, they're doing the same bullshit.
Same shit
that they do at the other house.
Exactly.
You got a 12-year-old, link up with somebody who got a 12-year-old. You got a 13-year-old, link up with somebody. I'm telling you, they're doing the same thing.
And sometimes it's just great to just talk
through it and talk about it.
I know me and, you know, my guy, we talk through. Briley and his son is at the same age, and we talk through the things that they are doing. And sometimes it just feels good to laugh about the shit that they're doing, because they're at the same age. And that feels good. And by the end of the conversation, we're talking through how we can be better at supporting them at whatever it is that they're doing. Because that's ultimately the goal, right? Like, they're going to fuck up a lot. But at the end of the day, it's our job to be there to support them when they mess up.
Yes, exactly.
And so I
And
appreciate. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, just like you said, we're using the resources around you. Even some of my friends who don't have children, sometimes I call, or I call them and I confide in them just to get support. And I think it's important to have a support system around you, which is something I'm learning because I don't normally use. I used to not use my support system, but learning more to be able to do that, find those trusted circles.
It's a village, man.
It's a village.
They say it take a village to raise a child. That's a very true statement. We've gotten away from that because, and now I'm getting deep and all philosophical and shit, but we've gotten away from that like as black people. But at the end of the day, the people that we really mess with and connect with, and that's in our circle, that's our village.
Yeah.
And we got to use them and to help build up our children and connect with them. So I appreciate you guys joining us for this week's episode.
This was nice.
I love talking about these topics and just sharing ideas with you guys, and you guys having an opportunity to share yours. So definitely join us for the next episode of Let's Talk. And as Tia mentioned, we're going to go live. Don't forget to purchase your Let's Talk merchandise.
Yes.
And we will see you guys next week.